Hey besties, it's Bree here and welcome back to the... Out of all my years sewing, I have never made a New Year's Eve dress. So I told myself this year is the year. My local fabric store was doing a huge discount, 30% off all fabric, so I got this sparkly bedazzled fabric. And then I used stretch satin fabric to line underneath it, and I am planning on making a super cute mini dress. To begin, I take my measurements. So I take my bust, my waist, and hip, and then also the length of my dress. Keep in mind, my dress did turn out a little bit shorter than I wanted because the materials I needed from Amazon that were going to account for the rest of the dress did not arrive. So I had to make do with what I had. So if you're following along to make the dress, just make yours a little bit longer than mine. First, to get started, I need to create my pattern. So I'm using this craft paper. Once this roll is up, I am going to actually invest in pattern paper, but let's learn from my mistakes. So I'm going to use this craft paper to create my dress pattern. I actually already have this dress pattern as a template that is pretty similar to my sizes. I'm going to take my measurements and I'm going to use this pattern as a base to create the dress. So first, I'm going to trace this dress pattern. If you don't have a dress pattern as a base, you can also use a dress you currently have as your base or freehand the pattern from scratch. So I'm going to trace this dress pattern because I know this will be the base, and then I'm going to adjust this pattern. To get started on altering this basic dress pattern to the design that we want, we have to do a little bit of math. So we measured from the top of the tube top down to 21 because we know we want it to be 21 inches, and this is where the dress will end. So I'm going to mark at 21 inches. I'm not cutting anything yet. And then we know, now looking at the top, we know at the top we need to add 6 inches to get to our shoulder seam. So after measuring how far from the shoulder seam to how much I wanted to match in the back, I got about 6 inches, but I always like to add more than less. So I'm actually gonna add 8 inches for the connecting straps. So we need to add a total of 14 inches to the top. So as you can see, my pattern is not 14 inches long. I'm gonna cut this out and then add the straps to the top after I cut it out. So now with the pattern cut out, it's time to add on the strap part. So I know I need to add 6 inches for where the shoulder seam would be. So after measuring down from the tube top to where you want it to end, we're going to make sure we mark it in the middle. Then we're going to take our ruler and just make sure it's marked down in the middle. Once marked down the middle, trace a line to where we want it to end. And then we're going to add 6 inches to here, to the top of the tube top to create our shoulder seam length. And connect the middle. Okay, and now we are going to begin creating our strap. We're just going to curve it in. I do like to use this curve ruler when I can. I'm just creating a curved line. I want to keep it the same. Now I'm measuring about 1.5 inches down from the tube top. This is where we're going to take the measurement we just used to measure across our breast of how much coverage we want. So mine will be about 9.5, I'm gonna do 9.75. And measure that from the outside of the dress. Now we're going to create our V-cut. Keeping in mind that a small slit makes a big cut, so I'm only going to shave off a little bit, starting from the center line we just measured. And then going up, doing the same on this side. And then we just need to add the remaining 8 inches up from here for our straps. So we're gonna take a measure from our straps, add 8 inches. Keeping in mind that as we go up, the straps will get thinner because this is where it will connect around our neck. So taking the middle of this strap, which is 3.75, which will be 1.8 for the middle. I'll mark there, and do the same on this side, 1.8. And then that will be the middle of our strap for the 8 inches we're gonna add. And then we're just going to keep it smaller as we go up. And do the same for the other side. And there we have our dress. So now we just need to connect these two patterns together with some tape. And cut it out. So once cut out, your pattern will look like so. And we just need to cut out the top where the straps will be. And this is going to be the deep V-neck we created. And we have our dress pattern. So I'm using this red satin to test the base of my pattern. When you test your patterns, it doesn't necessarily have to be the full in-depth process. More so when I test patterns, I just like to make sure the shape is correct, is the fit how I would want it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm cutting out the front of my pattern first. And once the front is cut out, I'm actually going to use the front to cut out the back. So now that I cut out the front of the dress, I'm just placing where it would be. And I can see that my V is a little bit too deep. I don't want to expose that much breast because once it pulls, it's going to be pulled like that. So I want it to be about 2 inches. So I marked with some pins. And I want it to be about 2 inches in. So I'm actually going to mark where that is. So I marked where that is on the dress on both sides where I want it to be about 2 inches. And I'm going to actually adjust the pattern to be more coverage. So since I want my coverage to be taken in by 2 inches, I'm gonna shorten, what I'm gonna do is shorten the slit about 2.5 inches. So measuring from the bottom, I'm gonna mark up 2.5 inches. And this is where my slit is actually going to end. So now we're gonna retrace in our test fabric with the slit shortened and see how it fits. So now I have the fabric folded right sides together. And now I'm going to cut out the fabric with the pattern. I'm double layering it, so that's why it's right sides together. And then we're going to pin the two fabrics together. So for the back, we're going to use the same pattern. However, I'm gonna add about 2 inches onto the hip just to make sure that it fits, because like I always say, it's easier to make it smaller. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same as I did on the front, cut the back side, right sides together. So the back side will be the same pattern, but I'm gonna only cut from where the tube top initially started, so right at the armpit area. Then I'm going to mark 2 inches from the hip area because I do want it just a little bit wider. It's about 1.5 inches on each side. I'm probably going to end up taking it in when I sew the dress together. And then we're just going to pin this together. Now that we have all our pieces cut out and we're ready to sew, because the pieces are right size together, we're going to just sew the top hemline, the top of the dress. We're going to sew here, 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 and here. We're not going to sew the sides. We're going to leave that open for when we sew the back piece to it. And for the back piece, we're just going to sew the top. Once the dress is sewn, you're going to turn it inside out.
My body as intended, that would all be well and good. But as you can see, the fog around here is quite thick, so the matter became a bit complicated. In short, poor little soul to have hair, are they? Especially not so much of it. Is that afro a wig or something?
So then your front side of your dress will look like this. And now we're going to turn the back right side forward as well. Just gonna flip it out, inside out, right side out. And then we're going to match it up and put right sides together and sew down the sides. Now I'm pinning down the sides of the dress that I'm going to sew down. I'm pinning it right sides together. When you're pinning it, you just want to make sure you have all 4 of your fabric together so you don't miss any when you're sewing. So I went ahead and cut where my zipper would be in the back of the dress. So that's what that cut is. And then I also went ahead and pinned down the sides of the straps a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew that because I want my straps to be thinner. So I'm gonna sew down that line with a zigzag stitch. Now that I sewed the side that I want to, I'm ready to begin putting in the zipper. Typically, I wouldn't do this because I want to create a seamless look, but because I'm going to put the lace fabric all over this bodice, this won't be shown. So I'm going to insert the zipper. And the base of the dress is done. It is now time for the exciting part. We're going to line this base with the pretty fabric. Now that we have our main dress done, we're going to take our pretty sequin lace fabric and it's time to drape it over the dress. So I'm going to take the fabric and literally just place it over the dress, drape it, and see how I want it to, depending on how I want the pattern to be, like if I want it to go this way, which I definitely don't, or go this way. I'm thinking going this way, so I'm just gonna place it over the dress and pin it. Okay, so all I did was cut a smaller piece to help frame it better. But now that I know how I want it to be, I'm going to begin pinning the lace fabric to the satin. Once you get where you want your fabric to be, you'll pin it on and you'll see I actually made 2 darts on the side just so that it'll fit better. And now I'm going to literally hand sew on this fabric. To sew on the fabric, I'm using these curved beading needles that I got, and since the needle is curved, it'll be easier to grab the fabric. Now working on the back side, we're going to do the same that we did. We're going to do the same that we did to the front, pin the fabric to the dress, and then sew it down. Well, hand sew it down. OMG, y'all, I finished putting the beading fabric onto the lining fabric, but Amazon has failed me. My beading that was supposed to come to finish the dress has not come, and it is like the day before New Year's Eve. So I need to finish the dress. So I'm going to use the beading from all the scrap fabrics. This is why we never throw away our scrap fabrics, because I'm going to use the beading here to use that to finish the dress. So I'm going to do a lot of beading. It's going to take quite a number of hours, especially since these beads are small. So let's get started. So after cutting off all the beads off the fabric, you'll get something like this. And now it's time to bead them on the dress. So I'm now working on the beading of the dress using the beading from the fabric I showed. As you can see, I already completed most of it. I'm kind of just doing finishing touches. Amazon never delivered my package that had all of the beads in it. I'm so upset because it would have really took this dress to another level. But I am happy with my plan B backup I came up with, because being a fashion designer is all about thinking, how can I move forward when nothing goes planned? So that's what I did. The dress still came out really cute, but it's not how I envisioned it, which is heartbreaking, but I'm just happy I was able to maneuver around that obstacle and still come up with a really cute dress. So now I'm just gonna finish beading the dress. For some final touches to spruce up the dress, since it didn't come out how I wanted, I added a knot at the top of each V to just give it a more eccentric look when it's on me. And here's the finalized look. It came out so cute, even though it was shorter than I wanted. I still loved it. Super cute. Make sure you guys follow me for more. Subscribe and like and comment and leave your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Bye.